Hello. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Just give me a green check if everything is all good. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to MuleSoft Community Stream. Getting started with Anypoint Partner Manager. Okay, I got a green check. We are all good. Where are you guys joining in from? What time is it for you? And how are you guys doing? Do let me know in the comment section. While you're waiting for everyone else to join, you all must have heard about Anypoint Code Builder, right? It went GA last week. So, how many of you guys have already tried it, or what are the features that you like about Anypoint Code Builder? Do let me know in the comment section if you're there, if you've joined me. I know you guys are missing Alex, and she'll be back soon. Until then, it's just me and Sabrina here. Okay. And also, this is the first time I'm doing it without Alex and Sabrina. So, yeah, do bear with me. Cool. With that, I guess I can just see. Let's wait for some more time for everyone to join so we can get started. Okay, then. So to begin with, we are, as I discussed, as I already mentioned, that we are going to talk about Anypoint Partner Manager, which is like if you have already heard, if you are working with B2B transactions, EDI interface, or EDI transactions or different formats and all. So we'll cover everything right from the scratch. Basically, what are B2B transactions? How does it impact you? What do they actually involve? Why there is so much hype about it? What is Anypoint Partner Manager? So if you're someone like me, like I wasn't having like if you would ask me about Anypoint Partner Manager a month ago, I had no idea what it actually does. I used to think that it is something for partner onboarding or partner engagement kind of, and there is nothing much for developers. And I was like so wrong about it. When I actually discovered the tool, when I started learning more about it, I got to know that there is so much more in it for developers and for basically people from all the different personas, so they can actually have like they can actually get a good integrated experience with partner manager. Moving ahead with that, we'll also see why do we need partner manager, what it does. And we'll see with the demo, like in the initial demo, this is kind of like a first part wherein we'll see the partner onboarding and setting up a platform on Anypoint platform, like how do we configure a partner manager. And probably if we are not able to cover in this section, maybe going ahead in the next one, we can see that how we're going to deploy, test, and monitor our transactions. So basically, end-to-end partner manager. And also in the upcoming sessions, sorry, we are going to have our PMs and PMM. Vijay and Sarah will be like with us, and they'll help us to solve other queries about partner manager. So stay tuned for all the partner manager series. With that, let me share my screen with you. Okay. Um, I'm gonna share my screen. Just a minute. If you're already familiar to Partner Manager or you're currently using Partner Manager in your project, do let me know in the comment section what are your queries, because this is something like completely new for me as well. I would say when I'm in the discovery phase and learning more about Partner Manager, what it does and everything. So let me pop up the right slide. I just have a few slides and then we'll straight away dive into the demo and get started with everything. Yes, I hope you're able to see my screen. So, as you can see here, partner manager, sorry, this layout, I'm getting there. Yeah. So as we know, like partner manager is going to help you with B2B transactions. So what happens usually is like when you're dealing with B2B transactions, so basically when it comes to a B2B transaction, there will be a buyer, a supplier. So for example, you can take that there are different kinds of buyers, and let me pop up the right example because this doesn't seem the right one. So I can explain better. Yes, this is better. So yeah, when we say about partner manager and seamless B2B integrations, so it typically involves a buyer and a seller. Okay, so when we are saying about buyers, there could be different buyers and the retailers. Basically, if you're talking about the retail space, you could be having Amazon, Walmart, or different retailers, right? And these big, huge, giant retailers, they're going to fetch their product. They're going to get their products from the suppliers. And if, for example, if you take Walmart or Amazon as a buyer, a giant buyer, so they are going to have the suppliers as like if you're talking only about the retail market, it could be some PNG and then Unilever or different kinds of suppliers whom they are going to get their stock updated, products purchased, so that they are having a proper stock. So if you see the relation, there could be like one to many, and one of the buyer is dealing with multiple suppliers. So traditionally, how it used to be, suppose if there is just one single buyer and one single supplier, it could be done the communication between these two partners or these two entities, the buyer and supplier. It can be done via one-to-one communication via like the traditional method, pen and paper, or maybe a simple drafted transaction, kind of a simple hard-coded or paper-based transaction, right? But imagine an entity like Amazon who's having thousands of sellers, thousands of retailers from whom they are like purchasing different kinds of product. In order to keep a traceability of all these different kinds of suppliers and all, they need some proper communication system or transaction systems, right? And basically, in order to communicate as well, there are different languages which are involved. So the language in which these two entities communicate with each other, the sellers and the buyers, the suppliers, the buyer and the seller basically, is called as electronic data interchange. It is EDI, or there could be different other kinds of formats as well, different other kinds of language as well. EDI is just one of them. Okay, it could be XML, it could be JSON, it could be CSV based, any of them. So when all this different, like suppose if Walmart is connecting with calls or with PNG in XML format, and they're connected with Unilever in an EDI format. Plus, there is not just these many. There could be like thousands of sellers which Amazon actually has, and this is some practical example as well. So in that case, how difficult it is to manage all these transactions with different entities, right? And to keep a traceability of errors, shipments, invoices. So that's the reason why we have Anypoint Partner Manager to simplify all these transactions and have everything at one place. So, with the help of Anypoint Partner Manager, you're taking care of all this one to many and many to one transactions. You're taking care of logistics, different entities that are involved in this entire B2B transaction process. In this upcoming stream, we'll see how we can do that as well. So basically, when it comes to supply chain automation, we are able to take care of the payment, the logistics part, transportation, and all the management activities that are involved in B2B transaction. Moving ahead, this is the first slide which I brought up earlier. Like, what is the use of it? What is the flexibility purpose? Like, if you can see over here, partner manager is actually the middle layer between the partner, buyer, sellers, and there are different entities which are involved. The best part is about it is like the flexibility because it supports different protocols like HTTP, FTP, SFTP, and all these different protocols using which you can exchange information and transactions with the different partner suppliers. And it also supports different languages like EDI, Edifact, XML, JSON, and so on. Okay. So this slide actually gives us like overview of how Partner Manager helps us with a B2B transaction. Moving ahead, we just have one use case story around which we'll be like today playing around. This is something like a customer story which can help us and how Partner Manager fits well in our API-led connectivity as well. So what you see here is Driscoll, which is like one of the prominent or one of the oldest the berry suppliers in California. They supply berry to Walmart and the other one. Like there are different consumers, different buyers. So when risk call, they have to take into consideration all the aspects regarding transaction invoices, and as it is something like perishable, they have to ensure that the shipment is received on time before the berries are like spoiled or anything. They have to send an advance shipment notice as well. So to begin with, like if Target wants to purchase berries from Driscoll, they're going to create a sales order, okay? And the format in which they are going to create this order will be like X12 850. And there are a lot of terms and terminologies if you come across this which are involved. And as a developer, as an API developer, integration developer, we are not actually aware about all this finance, I mean, all these parts on the B2B transaction, but which is completely all right because that's the reason we have so many assets available which will help us to simplify all this small tasks. Moving ahead, suppose if Target wants to create a sales order with Driscoll, so then the first thing would be like the API experience layer. That is the one where Partner Manager resides. And the other processing, like the process layer or the system layer, will be as usual, just like the way we have it for any other API-led architecture. We're going to process our information in the process layer, and then the system layer, we are going to have connectivity to the backend system, which could be any of the content management sites or the storage site or anything basically. Here it is Microsoft Dynamics. Moving ahead, once it has created an order, it also wants to send an acknowledgement to the order to another partner. And going further, it might have to send a shipment notice. And for shipment, here we have a different entity, the backend system called as Blue Yonder for the delivery and management, like the shipment notice thing. So if you see all these different transaction, the purchase order changes, purchase order acknowledgement, advance shipment notice, and the invoice, they're all different kinds of transactions involving different formats, different entities. So when we are dealing with such a diverse entities, diverse transaction formats and all, how are we going to communicate between all these systems? So in a usual case, we have this data weave transactions to map the payload we convert into one format to another. But suppose if there are like thousands of suppliers, thousands of, I mean, there are so many one-to-many connections if we have seen. So it gets actually difficult to maintain all these integrations. And if you want to speed up our integration process, we have got them on our Anypoint Partner Manager itself. So this is the entire use case and how we are going to simplify this use case. I mean, we are not implementing this use case today because this is very complex. But for today's demo, I've chosen a very simple one. So even we're coming up with tutorials and streams to fine line like to how to get started with Anypoint Partner Manager, because there are so many capabilities and assets which are available that we can leverage to make our partner onboarding journey smoother and yeah, B2B transactions easier basically. So to get started, here you can see there is this company, Mythical Suppliers. Okay, that can act as a buyer, the main buyer. Okay, and there are two retailers, Orange Tree and Rain Tree, which are sending purchase order to Partner Manager, and in turn, we are going to have a cash order process API as well in the backend, like a process API basically to take care of all the all the transactions, uh, basically the integration transactions, and then it is connected to an ERP system in the backend. Okay, so this is something that we are going to implement today. Going ahead, let me. Okay, so the first thing would be going to Partner Manager. So in order to access Partner Manager, you need to go to Anypoint platform, and you need to have some proper permissions for it as well. Uh, so the first step would be configuring your partner manager, partner credentials. Let me go to access management. And if you guys have any questions about anything that we're performing today, just shoot in the comments and we can get started. So to access partner manager, first to configure the partner manager credentials, we'll have to add permissions to our partner manager account. I'll select partner manager, and here you can see there are, okay, I can select all the permissions, and then I can select my business group, the environment where I want, and I've just added the permissions. Once you have added proper permissions for your users, you can go into, I think business group, yeah, business group, and then MuleSoft, and then partner manager tab. Here you can configure the environments where you want partner manager to be enabled. So I have configured over here two environments, which is like design and sandbox. You can have your own partner manager environment as well. Moving ahead, okay. Once this is done, we'll go to actual partner managers. The first step will be like before going into partner manager, let me first create a receiver app and a sender app. Basically, let me pull up the Anypoint Studio. So we have Anypoint Studio, and so yeah, the first step we have seen, which was like creating, giving all the permissions from the access management. Second step would be creating a sample Mule app, which is like just a generic Mule app. I've created one already over here. It just has a listener, a basic listener, and a logger, test B2B generic receiver. And I've just deployed this application on Runtime Manager on a Cloud Hub. So let me bring in the Cloud Hub, Runtime Manager, generic. So what is the purpose of this app is it's going to actually act as a generic receiver, like to receive all the data and just as a testing application. So when we are doing proper end-to-end testing, we'll see further what is the purpose of this app. But let's note down the steps for now. Like the first one is creating, giving all the access permissions. The second one is generic app receiver. Moving on to the next one, once it is deployed, I can actually bring in my Postman and see what it does. It's actually just for test APM Twitch, just to send all the requests, redirect all the requests. So when I have to create an endpoint, let me bring in the slides. Okay. It's taking some time to load, and yeah. Once we have the generic endpoint receiver, we are going to use this endpoint from here, copy link, and we'll go to partner manager, and we are going to create endpoints. So there are different endpoints which are to be created. So we'll talk about all these different identifiers, different entities like identifiers, endpoint, message type in detail while you're doing the demo. But for now, let me just bring up this thing and also my notes. So we are going to create different endpoints. If you have seen in the slide, which was this one, okay. So here we have seen we have different transactions going on, right? X12, XML purchase order, JSON. So we are going to have different endpoints for each of them, like the one from process API back to them. And also in the real world, when you're going to configure these different entities, we'll be having different endpoint. So same like that, we have this receiver endpoint, which we need to configure over here. Okay. So let me create new. Owner is MuleSoft, and what it does is it sends to partner. It sends all information to the partner, like whatever we have got from that endpoint. It's going to be HTTP, and the same URL will be generic API demo Cloud Hub B2B. will be copy pasted here. Authentication type, none. But you can also select any authentication type that you want. Click on save, and you have added a new endpoint. And similarly, I've added other endpoint like source at host or receive from partner endpoint. So if you're actually going to, I mean, the documentation, which is like over here, MuleSoft, Anypoint Partner Manager docs. Okay, not this. Yeah, Anypoint Partner Manager proper documentation, because they are really helpful and they tell you like what exactly you are trying to achieve with host partner, what are the different types of payload, inbound message flow, what are the endpoints. So you have different types of endpoints. You receive from partner. So what information you're going to receive from partner? What information are you going to send at the target host, source at host? So target receive from partner would be, if you're taking this example, it's like receive from partners. You're receiving all this information from partner. Source at host would be something at the partner manager. You're sending it from order to cache exchange to source at host, which is a partner manager. So as per your use case, you need to identify who is your source, your partner, your different source at host, all these configurations and endpoint, and configure them accordingly. So here in the partner manager, we have these three endpoints for now. Going further ahead, if you see over here, we have this ERP system, right? So that is the obstacle which we also face. Like in this diagram, if you see over here, we have an ERP, which is the backend system. But whenever you're trying to configure partner manager, even if you have that, if you've tried doing that earlier, we have seen that we need something like an S3 instance or some storage database, something to connect to our partner manager. But in case if you don't have it, you can also use an object store just for your POC purpose if you're just getting started and if you're new to partner manager. So the partner manager team has worked really hard in providing like different assets, and I was amazed actually the number of assets they have and why we haven't leveraged them before. So if you see APM, yeah, the content storage API. So this, they have already created an API which can act something for like storing your content, the information that you're receiving from multiple partners, receivers, and everything, sender, host, and all. You can dump all that content, or you can just use it, store it at one place. So we have different external UI. You have content storage API with database. You have with object store. You have one with S3 template. So this is something, if you're going to do it in real life, you're going to use the database or S3 template or an external UI for storing all your content. But today in this example, like just a simple use case, we are going to use object store. So I'm just going to download this content storage API from Exchange, import it in my studio. Okay, it's already imported content storage API. Yeah, but then there is one with the object store as well. So this is the one with object store. And once it is imported, you will deploy it on CloudHub. So let's go back to CloudHub, the runtime manager, where I have deployed the content storage API. So if you're noting down the steps, there are different steps which we have seen. Firstly, the access management configuration. Second one would be configuring the endpoint generic application which we have created and deployed on CloudHub, and then the content storage API which we have deployed over here. We can go into settings. We can copy the link, because as you go back to the partner manager, this is, I mean, you're configuring things at different places, but eventually you have to come back to partner manager to set up everything. And once all the setup is done, no matter in future, if you are an Amazon and if you want to just remove or replace one of the supplier, you can do that, and you do not have to mess up with the entire transaction, entire B2B process. It will be just one entity that you're removing or adding. So you can go to payload storage. I already have added it over here. So all it will do, you have to add is just this one. So APM, content storage, Cloud Hub, and then that's all. Just save it. Yeah, it must start with HTTPS. Okay. I've updated the new endpoint, the content storage API over here. Once that is done, okay, then we'll define different identifiers. So identifiers could be like just like the way we have, like how are we going to identify a particular transaction? Even if you're working with database or anywhere, you need an identifier key to basically identify a particular transaction. In case of traceability, logging, monitoring, or anything, you need a place where you can identify all these issues and everything. So yeah, so you can create different identifiers. You can use different identifier entity as well. So all this different, if you think they are alien to you because there are some different X2LGS and all this, because when I initially started, these terms were like really new to me, and I was like, okay, what is this? I have no idea about it. But if you are someone who has already worked with all this different B2B process and you're aware about all this entity, it might be easier for you. So I'm going to select reference ID, and identifier value is going to be mythical, because mythical is the name of our original supplier, okay, from the company who is sourcing different products from Raintree and Orange Tree. These are the two retailers. And this information goes back again to the diagram which we have seen over here. Orange Tree, Raintree, and these two retailers, they are managed, I mean, they're providing supplies to the generic retailer, which is mythical supplier. Okay. Coming back to where was yeah, mythical. Create an identifier. And similarly, okay, it's already created. Reference ID. Yeah, we already have reference ID created, so I'll create a different one which I had to. X12 GS. Yes. Okay. So similarly, you can create different identifier as per your transaction. Once this is created, you can also configure certifications if you have any. Okay. We have already configured one endpoint, which is this one, generic receivers. And if you have different runtimes, if you have different partners, you can configure those endpoints as well. You can just select from where you want to receive. If you want to receive something from partners, you can select the protocols. And then how do you want to manage? What is your URL going to be like? Uh, if it is AS2, then everything, like basically with your, it's all configurable. You do not have to go back. I mean, imagine if you're actually doing a B2B transactions and if you have to write a code with all these things, all these properties, how cumbersome it would have been. So that actually simplifies your task. And that's what I like about it. Like I'm still in the learning phase with APM, but moving ahead, we'll also configure message types. So what are basically message types? So we have, again, going back to the same diagram. So if you see over here, from Orange Tree to Partner Manager, back from Partner Manager to Orange Tree. So there are different transactions, right? So from Orange Tree to Partner Manager, if you see, the message type is going in the format X12 850 purchase order, and it's coming back as an acknowledgement 855. Okay. And from Partner Manager to Order to Cash Process API, it's going as a JSON format. Even here, it is a JSON format. So there are different message type carrying different conversations. So ideally, when you're working in a Mule application, okay, and if you have to convert, if you have to send data from, like, suppose Salesforce to Slack or Salesforce to anything, basically AWS or anything, basically. So you use data weave, right, to do all these operations, to perform this transaction, and then you map payload between these two entities. So we're going to do the same process here, and that's the reason we are saying that we are going to map our messages. Where was I? Sorry. Okay, we are going to create message types. So I already have created a different message types, and here you can see there are different formats as well. There is this reference mapping, which is DataWeave language file, DataWeave file. So how do I get this file? I mean, as a newbie, if you are someone who's completely new to Partner Manager and you want to see like how this data DWL file work, and me, how can I get that, and how can I create my own message type? Then you can simply go to Exchange, and here we have data mapping. I don't want COVID thing. There is some message type. I have downloaded that application in my studio. Let me see in the studio if it is then. It is Partner Manager, yeah, B2B order to cash mapping example. So either this one or this one. So let me go order to cash mapping example. So you can just download this example, and if you see buyer, seller, purchase order acknowledgement, and these are the data we file which we are going to use. So if you just download this thing and import it in your studio, so here you will get in the resource section SRC main. I guess this is the same template, right? SRC main resource, yeah, this one. So in the APM, I mean, I've copied this mythical file config, which has different data view files. So if you see this one, like we already have created this data view for you, which you can use it as it is in your project, just to give it a try. So yeah, we have these things, and if you're going to implement actual real transaction like end-to-end B2B transactions, in that case, what you can do is you'll have to create an application. You'll have to create a sample application, make it working, get sure your data view is tested out. Like I can give you an example. Here I have another. I think we can use the same one. There is one more. Okay, not this one. Not this one. Inbound and outbound mapping. So you can use this B2B order Mule application example if you want to see how we actually create this data view file. Because if we have to create a message, we need a data view file, and how are we going to get that from? So yeah, this is the file which is like inbound mapping. And if you go to any of the data view transaction, this is not this one, edifact format. So if you see, this is how the transaction is and how it, you just have to use this file. You have to extract this DWL file and put it in Partner Manager. So you're avoiding all this. I mean, you do not have to write all the transaction, but first you need to get it tested in your studio. Only then you can import it um, on your Partner Manager. So in order to set up our, we'll go to Partner Manager, we'll create new message type, and let me bring in the name. This usage is going to be like source at host. Format is JSON. We don't have a schema yet. You have identifier OB. So what is the purpose of this and message type is it's going to fetch all the information like shipment and then the order. There are some different keywords, different terms which are used. They're going to fetch different entities basically uh, from your source. Okay, ASN. And then we need to choose this file as well, data view file, for which I already have this is the same config file which we have seen and downloaded from the Exchange and imported in our studio. So OB SRC ASN, this is the mapping file which I'm going to upload. But in real life project, if you're actually performing all these transactions, right, all this B2B transaction for your partner, if you're setting it up, the ideal process would be you need to create a sample POC working app in your in our Anypoint Studio. Basically, you can use ACB as well, and then you need to map the transaction. And then once everything is working successfully, once you have tested out the mappings and everything, you can retrieve the data view file from Anypoint Studio and upload it on Partner Manager. So once this is done, just click save, and you have created, okay, the document name already exists. I have already created it for this. I forgot to delete them. Yeah, this is already there. So yeah, once this is done, the next one would be custom message attributes. So I'm not creating any new custom message attributes. So they're already there because, and what is the purpose of custom message attributes? So suppose if there is a transaction between a partner, supplier, buyer and supplier. So how are you going to like suppose if you're having a conversation with chat agent, I mean the agents on Amazon's website or anywhere else. So imagine at a particular time there are thousands of conversations which are going on, thousands of I mean not thousand would be very less number, but there are so many transactions which are actually going on parallel. So how are you going to extract that information about a particular buyer, a particular sender, the email address or something? So you need some, I mean, let's take this example. Like whenever I'm talking to a customer agent and I want detail about my shipment, so I'll only give them like my email address or my phone number or something which is like searchable. So these are called as message attributes that I'll create something like buyers name and then so the same kind of, and if it is searchable or not, if suppose if it is a critical information like credit card detail or bank detail, then we don't want it to be searchable. So that is the whole purpose of creating a message attributes, and you can create your message attribute as per your use case. So this is the overall configuration when it comes to configuring your identifier certificate endpoints. And if you still want to learn more about this, I would suggest you to just go ahead and just read the concepts on the documentation side. So they'll be like they're sufficient enough. Moving ahead with the next part. So once we are done deploying all the entities, identifier, endpoints, message type, message attributes in the partner manager, the next thing would be going up into and setting up the partners. So as we have seen in the the slide basically. So we had this two different partners, orange tree and the rain tree. So we'll go ahead and we'll create these two partners. Okay. So let me go back to Anypoint Partner Manager, create a new partner. You can also create a third party connection. I haven't tried that before, but let's save our questions for next time when we come with Vijayan and Sarah. They can definitely help us with that. So I'm going to create a new partner, Raintree, and also an type, the identifier type. So if you remember, we have already created all these identifier types and all, and identifier value would be Raintree again. And I have created a partner. Okay. So similarly over here as well, I can configure different endpoints for the partner. So in real life, if your partner is like, suppose there could be any partner like anything. So when it is Amazon, there could be the one which we have seen. I cannot even remember the examples now, but yeah, we can just set up different, the real life endpoint, the certificates, the identifiers and all. And you can have multiple partners, as many as you want. Creating the new partner, which was like orange tree. And for this, we are going to have identifiers as reference ID. And then the identifier value would be orange. Create a partner. Okay. Then for this partner, I want three more identifier value. It's not just reference ID, but I also want X12. And the identifier is again, okay, this is orange. So it's completely customizable as per your wish. You can just go ahead and yeah, this is also going to come something up. This is as a tutorial or maybe as a trailhead module or something as a training course about Anypoint Partner Manager, and you can expect similar but a better processed version of how to get started with Anypoint Partner Manager. And once we have defined the type, the transaction type, the qualifier, if it is which of them, and then the identifier value, which would be orange. And we have created identifiers as well. So we have configured two different partners. We have configured the deployment type, certificates, endpoints, and all. The next would be configuring the message flows. So if you see like what we have done, we have just configured bits and pieces of everything. Like first we configured this two part. First we have configured the small identity atomic values, you can say, like message types, endpoints, all these things. And then we have configured this partner like orange tree, rain tree, and now we are creating this entire message flow end to end, like how is a transaction going to flow and how is it going to come back when it comes to messages. So let's go back to partner manager. And what is the time? It's 4:10. We have time. So we can create a new message flow. Send to partner. How is the transaction? So I'm going to send to partner. Okay. And you have to select which partner you want to send to. So the rain tree first. Okay. Then what is the source at Mule? Then you can select. This is actually just like the way we configure for any of our like no code, low code piece, like with Composer or anything. So not exactly, but this is more on the B2B side. And you're configuring the endpoints or mapping everything. And this is all at one place. And you're not writing any code or anything for that. And that's what makes it like beautiful. So let us configure the endpoint. You have to select the endpoints which you want to configure. And this is the same endpoint, which the generic endpoint on the generic URL, which we configured previously, like the first one. Okay, just select this generic endpoint. Okay, once this is configured, you need to select the source message type. What is the type of source message to be want? Let me confirm it. It's going to be the PO transaction and select it. So basically, once you get expert with all this B2B terminologies, once you're aware about them, how simple it is to actually just configure all this entities, transaction process. And it, I mean, to be honest, it was definitely not easy to like learn all these things, the new concepts, new terminologies at first. But as you start working with partner manager, you'll start liking it for sure. So then the rain tree, okay, this is for orange tree. So with this one, I need to configure, just a minute. With the message flow, yeah. Okay, we are doing it right. And then identifier is just rain tree, which is available. Identifier reference mythical. So if you see all these values, they're popping up because we have configured them initially. Then the mapping instance, we need to map the data view file. So data view file, again, we are going to import from the same config file which we downloaded from our Exchange. We imported in a studio, and I'll show it again in a studio. So the OBSRC. Okay. And the next one, we need to select the endpoints. This was also generic endpoint which we have configured, and it is selected. So once you have configured your partner, your message flow basically with all this different configuration, yeah, this is the endpoint which we had to select. Okay. And once it is done, just click on done. You can deploy it as well. For one deployment, like we'll see what is the thing on deployment. You can write some comment. Raintree first deployment, and then just deploy it to Cloud Hub. I mean, it will be automatically deployed because initially we had configured Cloud Hub as a deployment environment, and you have just configured the entire one message flow. So it could be like from Raintree, this one. Okay, and back. So let's go back to Cloud, the runtime manager, and see what's happening there. Because it was deployed. I think it's taking some time for deployment. So meanwhile, let's go and create a new message flow, send to partner, and this is from Orange Tree. Yeah, so if you see there is this one deployment which is coming up, it's slow, but it's coming up. I'll keep refreshing Cloud Hub for now. Second deployment. So for each, I mean, yesterday when I was trying to deploy, there were like three of them. Yeah. So it has created three services, three Mule project which are deploying, basically message flow. And probably in the next section, because next session we'll see how to deploy, how to actually test out, and how to do the end part like monitoring, configuration, traceability if you want to trace particular element in the transaction. And there are also new updates coming in on the partner manager. You can expect more updates in like the upcoming months, and also in the spring release. So partner manager guys, they're bringing a lot of assets and all which are actually helpful when you're building the B2B transactions. Moving back, let's configure the next partner, Orange Tree. So in this transaction as well, source at MuleSoft, you're going to select the endpoint, outbound generic endpoint. But this is generic one, but in the real life, you're actually going to use the endpoint which you have to send to, like at the source. And then select the message type. I think it's POEK. Yeah. The reference ID orange and the MuleSoft reference ID mythical. Once that is done, we'll select the map. And yes, I had to show you the config files. So when you download the asset, you get a config file here. SRC main. Yes. Just download this project if you're not able to see this one here. B2B order process API, and then you get the config files over here, which you can use for reference purpose. And going back, I'm going to select the map, which is like import the file, and that is mythical PO. Upload. Once this is done, we'll select the message type as well. For the Raintree, it was XML12, X12, 855. Yeah. There are different types of formats as well, which we need to learn about, like 856, 855. It depends. And then the settings, the identifier. So if you see everything is like pre-configured and you just have to drag and drop and select it out because we have configured them initially. And select the endpoints. And once it is done, just click on done. And you have created two message flows. So when you come to Anypoint, like these are the three apps. So if I'm going to again select, again go ahead and deploy this one, so I'll be having two message flow which will be deployed. So this is for Raintree. Sorry, we'll come back to the second one, Orange Tree. So I can go ahead and deploy, but currently I don't think I have sufficient vCores. I have requested for them, but yeah. So this won't be deployed because we need 3 vCores for each of them. And first deployment, Orange Tree. Okay, has been deployed. We'll let you know. Okay, I already got the access. I think the extra vCores. So even this has been deployed. So we are going to have basically like the six of them being deployed, and we can keep count. We can keep a traceability check over here for deployment. So this is more like the part one of your uh, partner manager series, and the next part we'll see about how do we run this, and whatever we have deployed, how are we going to test it. But meanwhile, while we are here, I'll just bring in the Anypoint Studio. So I had this application which was like, I mean, I can show you how it actually works if you have to deploy it locally. How will the request response format and everything looks like? So let me close everything. So this is the app, order to cache mapping API, and you have this inbound XML, outbound XML, and before using the data, if you're building in the real life, you're going to build it something like something similar to this using your own formats, your entities, okay, and then you'll just run this application. Run this application locally and see how it looks like, okay. And when you download this assets, you're also going to get some testing help. Where were they? Okay, I can't see them now. You're going to basically get the Postman scripts. Oh, I can still not see them. Yeah, Postman collection. So just import this Postman collection in your Postman, and you do not have to worry about like them. So that makes it more easier. So this is the Postman collection that I have imported, same like this one. And I can go ahead once this is running. You can just go ahead and try it out. It's still, yeah, it's deployed. I can just go ahead and I can try this thing. And if you see this was a different format altogether, and we have got a JSON XML, like JSON format converted. So, and you can do it vice versa, like basically your transactions using the data weave thing. And this is a JSON, and you're converting into an EDI, or not sure which format is this, but you're getting different orders and everything sorted out, your addresses, the data, basically the conversion, the transformation from EDI to XML, XML to JSON, and all of this. So yeah, that was a simple, very simple demo of Anypoint Partner Manager. How easy it is to configure once you're, configure in the Anypoint Partner Manager. How to, like, there are different assets which you should be utilizing. And yeah, custom message attributes comes under header. Okay, there is this. Okay, I'm glad there's someone saying Sandeep Anumala. So custom message attribute doesn't comes under the header. Uh, that's a different. Let me share my screen again. So this is the custom message attribute. It doesn't come under header, I suppose. It's a part of your body. It's a part of your body payload, like the buyer's email, carrier SRC. These are the message attributes. So I think they should be here somewhere. I mean, this is a different example altogether, so I'm not sure. But it is definitely not part of header. I can't, maybe we can check with Vijayan as well next time. But it doesn't seem like, because it seems something like a body, part of a body, like your email address and all, which will be like a buyer's email address or a partner's email address and information about partner. Okay. I think with this we're almost good for today, and I'm sure you're missing Alex more now. Other than that, if you will be having this recording, like if you couldn't watch this completely or if you couldn't join us today, you can check this one and also all the previous recording on MuleSoft community Twitch and also on LinkedIn. So yeah, this is where you can find all the recordings from the past. And this is like the first part of Anypoint Partner Manager. In the next one, we'll see more about, like, we have deployed those applications, right? Those 6 applications and the message flows as well. How does the transaction flow in between different partners, suppliers, um, and everything? Like, how do we test them, configure them? How do we actually monitor the applications? Like, once the transaction is flowing, there are lots of transactions happening place. How do we monitor them? If there is any error or anything, how do we trace the error, particular error? So we'll do that next time. And yeah, just follow us on LinkedIn and Twitch and Twitter, and make sure you're updated with all the latest updates from MuleSoft. And with that, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time with more updates on Partner Manager and other MuleSoft stuff. Thank you. I'll wait for some time, maybe for a minute or so. If you guys have any questions about Partner Manager, if you want me to bring something else, something new as well, do let me know in the comment section. I can, regarding Partner Manager, I can take it up with Vijay and NT. If there is anything you want developer advocates to work on to bring it to you guys, just let us know as well. All right. Thank you. Have a great week and great weekend. Also, happy Halloween. Bye.